Right then, good morning everybody, or good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching it. Let's get stuck in after yesterday's scenario. So, excuse me, interest rates, same. And inflation, down, exactly as expected. I suppose this isn't perfect, but it's like I've been saying yesterday, and I'll continue to say, if you want to try to think about and assume the next CPI, what CPI is and, how it's going to move and what it could possibly be, just think about oil, really. Just think about oil. I think that is the layman's approach, and I am the lame man. So let's have a think about that next time we're getting closer and closer to a CPI print. And remember, it's lagging, so about 4 to 6 weeks behind. So yeah, we got lower than expected inflation. Well played. But then the Fed, tight AF. We're not going to lower the rates. We're going to keep them the same. That's fine. To be honest with you, I mean, that is the right thing to do. I suppose there's no crisis looming, is there? And if the Fed has a superpower, it is only to lower rates or raise rates. So yeah, they've done what they did, and it is what it is. And as a result of that, what we see is Bitcoin and all markets pump up and then come back down to where they started from. So it was just a bit of a non-event really, because what's happened effectively to the price action is that we bounced, we recovered, we gave it all back, and now we're below all moving averages again on the 4-hourly. So actually, as of this very moment in time, as of 20 past 7 in the morning, somewhere in Yorkshire, what we're looking at is a rejection from basically the 21, the 200, all on the 4-hourly. So let's take ourselves back to the daily. What do we have? A support on the 50, the 50, and the 50. So we are thinking about this area, this $67,000 zone, as the area that might hold us, hopefully. But based on the daily, what we see is a 21 exponential moving average rejection. So rock and a hard place, I'm afraid. Back to the weekly, what we see, 10 exponential supports. So we're getting supports on the higher term time frames. We're hoping that these will hold. Again, there's not really any real way to predict this very moment which direction it's going to go. Price action has effectively been manipulated by news. We knew that that was going to be the case. We had the inflation situation, which was good, and then we had it's not bad. Rates staying the same is not bad, but the hope was that there was going to be some kind of lowering of rates, which there wasn't. So maybe, we could look at this in the form of some kind of small structure like this, with a low down here, 66,000, and maybe this is a higher low that we're looking at around here. But if we're gonna split hairs like that, I don't think it's worthy of taking a trade. I think it's better to leave alone to see how it fares over the next, at least over the next 24 hours or so. Now, if we take ourselves over to traditional markets, so we'll look at US 500, basically the S&P's futures market, the pre-market. It's not bothered, actually. It's unchanged on the day. Closed up, new all-time highs, currently sitting in the green. Let's have a look of signs of weakness. Do we see any signs of weakness on this? Well, not on the 1-hourly. It's not the same as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not happy, or should I say it's sluggish, slow, it's not very convincing. Whereas the S&P is not the same. S&P continuing to go up and up and up and being above all moving averages on the 1-hourly, obviously on all the other time frames also. They're going to be above all moving averages. So we're quite happy when it comes to stocks, and there isn't any real signs of weakness on this. In fact, it does look like it still wants to continue, and all dips ought to be bought. Let's take it all the way down to a weekly, and we did have that one drive of bearish divergence, which played into a 10 exponential moving average, and then from there got picked back up again. So this is what I'm thinking for Bitcoin, really, is that Bitcoin did a similar thing. So maybe what we're seeing with Bitcoin is that we're lagging. We had, and we did have, and I suppose we still could have, a decrease of momentum, and we pulled into a 10 exponential moving average, and then from there we get picked up and move on again, and maybe go on to new all-time highs, just like we see with the S&P. Other than that, though, there's not a great deal to say. Obviously, altcoins are going to be moving in the shadows of Bitcoin as the dominance chart continues to creep up. I'm not particularly concerned about the market over the long haul, and I still believe it's a buy the dip market for dollar cost average events, which anytime we move down, you know, whether it's a 10 or 5% move, really, depending on if you're moving into a support and if it's something that you like, then you pick it up, buy the dip, and hold it as part of your portfolio, because I'll make a video maybe later on today if I get a chance about the time of where we are in the overall cycle. But long story short, we're about halfway through. And the last time we were halfway through for Bitcoin, so this was the full cycle for Bitcoin. So we made our low around here. You can measure it from the low to the high, 850 days basically. Meaning that, you know, this was, I suppose, roughly around here, the center area. Now we moved up, we consolidated, there was a black swan, so let's forget about that. We could have gone from basically 10 back down to 6 or 8 perhaps, so again, it was a lot more of a volatile chart back around here. So this is kind of where we are. And if you think about that, you've got an area, a range of about 6,000 to around 12,000. Where you could have considered it to be accumulation, where we stayed in for a very long period of time, close to 9 months, maybe even closer to a year. And the halfway point is about in the center of that range. So if that is the case when it comes to being in the center, and again, this is just a brief overview, I'll make a better video about it, then, you know, we're looking to accumulate generally and add to positions long term for the end result, which should end up being something similar to this. Not particularly for Bitcoin, like I say, you know, I've got more than enough Bitcoin, don't want to pick up any more Bitcoin, but when it comes to altcoins and things like that, I still believe that they're the ones that ought to be accumulated, building up portfolios for altcoin positions, and for what should end up being like one of these at some point next year. So, like I say, I'll make a better video about it, but I believe we're in the center of the cycle right now. And yeah, we could easily come down easily, and if we do, it's nothing more than buy the dip on those altcoins that you want to have and you want to hold, that you believe will end up at higher prices. Right, that's all I have to say, but thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and take it easy.